Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. The average new car sells for almost $50,000. If you want to be exact, as of December 2022, the average price of a vehicle sold was $49,507. And I know anytime you throw out the word average, people's ears kind of perk up and they say, well, sure, that's the average. There's probably a lot of really expensive cars or luxury cars in there that are dragging that average up, right? Well, if we remove the luxury vehicles sold, the average price of a non-luxury vehicle sold as of December was still $45,578. And I don't know about you, but it sure doesn't seem like there's a whole heck of a lot of difference between luxury or non-luxury when it comes to price, does it? Question of the video, what did you pay for your car? I'm trying to remember back, my car is kind of old, but I think I paid $27,000 or $28,000 at the time. Now, I don't really care which of these price points you reference, luxury, non-luxury, those prices are high. Keep in mind that the median salary of a worker in the US is $54,000. Sure, that's the median wage for an individual worker across the entire US. Yes, it does vary by location, it varies by state, so just in case you're curious. The median actually ranges from about $35,000 to about $80,000 for individuals. The Balance has an interactive map that will show you your state's typical median wage. If you're curious, link down below in the description. So that means for many, a new vehicle costs close to what they make in an entire year. Even if we look at household income rather than individual income, we see that the median household income in the US is about $70,000, which means that a new car is still a huge chunk when we consider households that may have multiple income streams. It's no exaggeration to say that the typical American is ill-equipped to afford a new car. After all, we do have some guideposts that we can use when we're trying to answer the question, what type of car can I afford? Now, are any of them perfect? No, but they give us a good starting point. If you base it off take-home pay, the rules you often hear are that a car payment should be no more than 10 to 15% of your take-home pay. That 10% rule does fall in line with the traditional car buying rule of 24 and 10, where you put 20% down, take a loan payment for no more than 4 years, and have that payment be no more than 10% of your take-home pay. If you like this rule, it's a fine one to use. I just like to say that I like to lean more towards that 10%, that lower percentage. I like to be more conservative. I like to keep my debt obligations low. So if you have a $70,000 income, that means in a typical month, your take-home pay is about $4,700. And following this rule, you could afford a car payment of about $470. If you bought a new car today for that average price, the non-luxury price of $45,000, assuming a great credit score, no down payment or trade-in, your payment on a 3-year loan would be about $1,300. Now, most people aren't taking loans for 3 years. The most popular auto loan duration, 72 months or 6 years. Even with a 72-month loan, in this case, your car payment would still be about $750 a month. And that monthly payment is still 1.5 times what our general car buying rule suggests it should be. And that is a really long time to commit to an auto payment. And these numbers really aren't that big of a stretch. 15% of new car buyers have a payment that exceeds $1,000. What if instead of committing to a monthly payment, you just want to buy a car outright? Well, we have a general guideline for that as well. A vehicle's price should not exceed 35% of your gross annual income. Quick refresher, your gross income is your income before any taxes or deductions are taken out. So with this rule of thumb, if you earn the same $70,000 income from the previous example, you could afford to purchase a car for about $24,500. Again, that price point is a far cry from the actual prices we're seeing in the market. If we were to use this guideline of 35% of gross income, you would have to have a household income of $130,000 per year before you could actually say you could afford the average new vehicle, the average non-luxury new vehicle today, or an income of over $140,000 a year if we're trying to hit near that $50,000 benchmark. These are very lofty numbers. Consider that if you live in a household that has an income of $130,000, that puts you in the top 75% of all households. Or what if we looked at it from the perspective of monthly payment? If you're looking to keep your payment to 10% of your income, I will include that 15% guideline as well, but I like to stay closer to that 10% mark. Here's what the rule of thumb gives as a guideline for acceptable car payments. Keep that in mind when you see that the average monthly car payment on a new vehicle is over $700, over $500 on a used car, but many people are simply extending out the length of their loan in order to be able to afford a vehicle. This does highlight an important issue. Many people fail to consider the true cost of owning a vehicle, and rarely do people ever really consider the total cost of the car itself. Most people simply ask themselves, does this payment fit within my budget? And of course you should look at the total cost of the vehicle, knowing full well that the dealership can absolutely do some funny math games and extend out your payment several years to make practically any car fit with any budget. But then you also want to consider the cost of owning a car itself, because cars come with a lot of expenses. Think insurance, license and registration, gas, electricity if you've gone electric, oil, routine maintenance. If you're in a city, parking fees. And these costs aren't insignificant. On average, they total an additional $500 a month. Car ownership is very pricey. That's why transportation comes in as the second largest spending category for most households, falling only behind housing itself. Edmunds actually has this calculator where you can put in the car type and see what the true cost of ownership is versus simply the sticker price of the vehicle. I think it's incredibly valuable to see, and I will link that down below. Every time we make a purchase or we commit ourselves to a series of payments, we're making a choice with our dollars. We're casting a vote. We're saying, I value doing this more than I value doing anything else with this money. And there's nothing inherently wrong with however you want to spend your money. Just know when you choose to spend it, you're making a choice, and that choice creates an opportunity cost. We only have a finite number of dollars, so choosing to do one thing is choosing not to do something else. Remember, there is no good, there's no bad, there's no right, there's no wrong. You just want to be allocating your dollars in a way that you're allocating them to things that you value, spending money in a way that is meaningful to you. For many of us, we can't fathom a life without a car. For many situations, a car is essential. And then there's other situations where a car is more of a luxury. I'm from a small town, and in a rural setting, a car is absolutely essential. We don't have public transportation. We have the pickle bus. It's green, so that's why they call it a pickle bus. But that bus doesn't even have a route. If you want to go somewhere, you call the dispatcher. You say, hey, this is where I am. This is where I need to go. And they send a bus to pick you up where you are and drop you off where you need to go. Sounds great, but you can't rely on it for a specific time. Like if you had an appointment at say 9 a.m., you'll get there plus or minus 45 minutes. When I go home, we still don't even have Ubers. It is very small. If you live in a city with a well-established transit system like a subway, that's an entirely different world. But even if you live just on the outskirts of a city, in a suburb, maybe the transit system doesn't go that far and maybe you still need a car. But for families with multiple vehicles, it's fair to say, ask yourself the question, do we need all these vehicles? Many families have 3 cars, maybe even 4 cars, and only 2 drivers. Or you could even ask, could we get by with just 1 car? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe it's no. Only you know your situation. What if you didn't need one of those extra cars? What if that extra car had a $500 monthly payment and an additional $500 in extra expenses associated with owning that car? What if instead you took that $1,000 a month and invested it for 6 years, the length of a typical car loan? It would grow to almost $100,000. That's a pretty big difference to have either a depreciated asset after 6 years or a nice start to a nest egg. Then, after those 6 years, let's say you stopped investing. You just let this money grow. You left it alone for 30 years. it could turn into 7 figures. So just think about that when you think about what your vehicle is costing you. Is your vehicle the reason you're living paycheck to paycheck? Is it the reason you're going to have to delay retirement? Because that's a realistic question. For many people, their vehicle is their status symbol of how well they've done in life. You can certainly make the argument that you need a vehicle. You need one to get to work, to appointments, to drop your kids off at school. All of these are really valid arguments. But do you need to be doing these things in a Mercedes or a BMW? Probably not. And I even read an article how less and less people are actually even willing to buy the base model of vehicles. There are certain luxuries that people just deem essential. So now manufacturers aren't even making those base models. So even though you may see that base model price listed on a vehicle, odds are you are going to pay several thousands of dollars more for the model you actually end up purchasing. So let's say you're debating a new car. You're looking at the Toyota RAV4 or the Audi Q5. RAV4 is about $30,000, Q5 is about $45,000. I'm choosing the lower end models. All other factors being identical, the difference between these two monthly payments would be about $450. $450 invested every single month over an entire investing career could make for a pretty darn nice retirement nest egg. So what are the best ways you can save money on your vehicle? When you're purchasing, buy used. New cars lose about 20% of their value in the first year and about 15% of their value each following year. So if you buy a car that's in that 3 to 5 year old range, you can save big, but you can still get a nice car that has a lot of life left in it. Shop around for auto insurance. I don't care if you're happy with your auto insurance, every year put some feelers out and shop around. Here's why, and I learned this one from Jazz Wealth Managers. They have a channel here on YouTube, and it's a great one if you're looking for some good financial content. If you're not shopping around for auto insurance, the auto insurance companies share that information with each other. So if they know you're not looking, they will start to incrementally raise your rates faster. Check your credit score. And if your credit score is subpar, hold off on buying a vehicle. Auto loan interest rates vary a great deal based on your credit score. And finally, keep your car a long time. Ideally, you want the life of your auto loan payment to be short and the life of your vehicle to be long. That way you can enjoy a number of years without having a car payment. My car is 15 years old and my goal is to make it to 20. Assuming we don't have any major issues, I think we can get there. What do you guys think about the recent car prices? Let me know in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.